we're rounding it out. We'll keep it light, energetic, and try and figure out if this is the end of time. I was listening to a podcast recently published by the New York Times, and they were describing about the future of dating in New York. I'm sure it'd be equally applicable to Cloncurry. And they were talking about how people are over the apps. Tinders, they're dying. So what people are now doing is, instead of actually going out and physically meeting people, they're sending their, I'm trying to think of the right word, they're like their bot, their representative. So for example, if we were to go and meet Joanne, instead of us sitting down at a restaurant, we would just send a representative of each other to figure out if we actually wanted to catch up in person. Now this, to me, I think illustrates one of the problems with the AI space, is that this felt like a solution that didn't need solving. There was already quite a practical way of getting around this. And I think this is a really interesting space where it's exciting, it's sexy, but also it can also probably be a distraction. And I think that's something that I'm excited about exploring with all of you guys, is like, how do we keep focused on what we're actually solving? Now, John, can you kick us off? Why Chief Storyteller? And also you going for a bit of a filmmaking role. I certainly enjoyed your short video before lunch, and I love how you use humour to incorporate that. And was that generated by AI?
That video was not AI, that was my father. And he'd be very proud to know that everyone's seen him take a skinny dip in the bore tank. But on to your point there, Charlie, I think the reason that I took on the role as Chief Storyteller, well, my brother is the smart one in the family, and my other brother's the good one with numbers, so I needed some sort of role. But when it comes to anything technology, like what we do at Landwatch, the storytelling side of it is so important, because for a lot of it, it might just be too hard basket for so many people to understand that, like, this little bit of technology can be so practical and solve these real life problems, that really the education and the storytelling part of it is one of the most critical roles. So that became my job, to help sort of bridge the gap between the technology that my brothers were developing and the real use case of where it was actually being used.
Dan, we are all users, or all the producers in this room would be users of your program, Helical. Can you explain to me how it's changing, how you're developing that, and then how, as a user of your program, in sort of 5 years, how we will experience that in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, we've been using AI pretty much since it came out personally. It's what's enabled us to be able to build Helical as quickly as we have, even though it has been a 5 to 6 year process to get to where we are. We've got a team of 3 developers now, and really AI's kind of multiplying their output, in the sense that we can prototype so many new types of features and tools and dashboards, and really wade through all these different options. But I can tell you it's been a real journey to get to a point where we are actually spending less time to do more. Our productivity in the early days of using AI was probably worse, because the models weren't as good. They seemed really promising. I think one of the risks of AI, and it's still true today, is that they are professional bullshitters. They can very confidently tell you something that something is correct, and this is the way it is, and then when you challenge them on it, they'll go, "You're absolutely right, that's completely wrong, this other thing is right," and then you go, "That's not right either," and they go, "You're absolutely right, this other thing is right." So you've got to be really, really careful about that, and that's still a big risk and a big challenge. And I can tell you, we have already been playing around with a lot of integrations of AI into the platform. It is already built in behind the scenes, and there's some EBV interpretation capability and the ability to create catalogs and catalog descriptions using AI that we haven't quite put out into the public yet for some of these reasons. And there's a question about how we can ensure these tools are really helpful, but make sure there's right guardrails in there so that they don't create problems for us in the future.
No, I appreciate that. Someone was reminding me before that that you can put into ChatGPT, "I need to take my car to get it washed. It's 100 metres away. Should I walk or drive?" And I said, "You should definitely walk." And what I liked about what you just said is the absolute confidence in which it says that. Moving over all the way to the end, You were the founder, Sid, of the Virtualist Fencing. How are you using it in your business, and how do you see it impacting beef farmers on a day-to-day basis, over the next few years?
So it's been a great sort of a scalable sort of factor. So what it has allowed us to do is do more with less. So now we have AI agents. We have as many AI agents as employees that are helping us support our farmers.
Sorry, can you just explain what an AI agent is?
Well, an AI agent is basically someone that you have trained to do one type of job, but that job really well.
So it's like training a Kelpie. but just explain that. Like, how do you explain? How do you train an AI agent? What does that look like?
Well, it's all actually English-based now. So I've been personally teaching some farmers to set up their own AI agents now. But you basically write in English what you want that agent to do. You feed it some information, some real facts, and then it will try to handhold your way through the job. So, for example, you mentioned neckbands. We have faulty neckbands, let's say, and the farmer wants to say what's wrong with it. So we have an AI agent that will walk them through the fault and maybe even raise a warranty ticket in our system and approve the warranty and raise the warranty order and then the farmer will get the warranty neckband back. So with very little human involvement. So those are the things what we can do now, which we couldn't do a couple of years ago. It's been very powerful in that sense.
David, I want to talk about intuition. Is the skill of a beef farmer no longer required? Is AI going to make that redundant? How do you see it impacting the people in this room?
Yeah, look, good question. I think no is the quick answer.
Thank you. Did you like my setup?
I think, take the example here of, a genius sitting in the city that's got all the AI systems in the world, has mapped out all the digital things, has got every single thing mapped out from genome to how cattle walks to 3D imaging to everything else. So the works, has worked out all the agents, all the AI. Does anyone in here actually think that that person would do better than a farmer with all of that AI on the farm itself? I think it's a ridiculous proposition. It's not about that in itself. I think AI is a tool like everything else. We've democratized it as well. From just, an industry standpoint, at the end of the day, we're all using the same things. We're all using Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. There's nothing else. Everyone's just using those three things, and we're all kind of convexing on that standard. So at the end of the day, farmers' intuition, I think you can never get past that. And we've seen that through and through as well, I'd say. I mean, it's almost like you build up, I'm going to talk about something a bit older, talk about the weather. At the end of the day, the weather 10 years ago used to be predictable. If you used to get a forecast saying it's going to rain tomorrow, you could almost hang your hat on that and it's like, yeah, it's going to rain. Last few years, it's been absolutely useless. It's going to rain tomorrow, is it? Frankly, your intuition is almost better already in that aspect as well. And you can almost see that throughout everything that we're doing, including AI as well. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Not that I don't disagree with my panelists or with Cooper before as well. AI is a fantastic tool and we should all be using it, but it doesn't circumvent the farmer, the rancher, and the people who know it well intimately and can see things which AI lies about, gets wrong, and just can't do.
Yeah, I think it's we were having this conversation before, and I'm very easily sold to. And in our business, I'll come to something like this and I'll see something, really, really fancy. And the way I think about it, it's like watching a really good trailer for a movie and you watch 3 minutes of it and you're like, that is spectacular. Then you watch the movie and you're 60 minutes through it and you're asleep. And, the long-form version is just not that compelling. We've sort of got a rule in our business that when we bring in a piece of technology, after 6 months, we sit down and actually go, have we made a decision using this? Are we making better decisions? Are we making faster decisions? Or is this just another subscription, like my 16 styles of Netflix that we use and we don't want to give up on yet and move away from it? What about the challenges? Are there risks that you see to using it in the future, and how do we manage those, do you think?
I think, as Dan said, one of the biggest challenges is people taking it verbatim for gospel, that what it's saying is correct. I can just imagine some young fella going to his dad and saying, no, ChatGPT said we should do it this way, Dad, and getting a smack across the face. because he forgot that actually chat might not know, that's ChatGPT, sorry, might not know all the answers like it says that it does. It comes across so passionate and like it's got all the authority to give these answers, and we fall into that trap of believing it, whereas our intuition or the experience from those that have gone before is so much more valuable than what ChatGPT or Claude could ever tell us.
See, connectivity, you obviously, over one hand, we've got AI, we've got, this whole technology blanket, but the technologies, reception, connectivity is generally quite shit house. How are you managing and navigating through that? Or is that a significant limitation for you guys?
It sometimes is, and sometimes there are really good solutions out there now that solve those problems. For example, microcontrollers have gone really cheap now. With the help of AI, they have gotten very cheap. So now you can do a lot of good data analytics and machine learning at the edge level without needing connectivity. And what these AIs do is think of them as a content delivery system. So just like you watch videos on YouTube, now you're just looking at content through a chat. So that's what they are really. And what the AI lets you do is now you can work with these edge devices locally without needing to be connected to internet. So there are some really clever little things now that'll come out in the next couple of years where you can do everything end-to-end locally because you have a large language model that can run as well without the internet. So those are things that are coming up soon.
Fascinating. David, is there a tipping point you see where if you're in the beef industry, or any industry for that matter, if you're not integrating it into your business, then you'll be left behind?
I'd say 100%. I mean, you will have to adopt it, period. I think anyone that thinks that AI is not coming for everything realistically in terms of specific applications within their business is misguided. You have to apply it. And the best example I can give you here, if I think about it, was, I don't know how many of you remember the film Moneyball with Brad Pitt. So it was Moneyball, as a quick synopsis, is Billy Beane. Essentially what he did was he revolutionized Major League Baseball by essentially running statistics and building a team purely based on statistics. And what he did was he came second in the NBL that year in doing that. But the take out of that is, he came second that year, and the next year he was pretty much at the bottom again. Why? Because all the other teams already adopted that tactic and basically started utilizing it. So my advice is that, exactly the same thing. AI is that new tool. You will use it. You should not use it because you will fail without it. But point specific. Learn the lessons that others have paid for. Learn the lessons that people are sort of gaining. And once it is a proven tool, yeah, do it. If you've got the money to be on the bleeding edge, well, good luck to you. By all means, go ahead and try and do that. But it is called the bleeding edge because most of the time you're bleeding on it. The safest bet is let the technology evolve, embrace it as it becomes commercial, and utilize it to your advantage. I'd go with that.
While you're on a roll, one of the things that I often think about, I used to work in the city, I was sort of in corporate consulting and used to look around other financial services. There was lawyers and accountants and marketing professionals. No one's really hired. If I was a grad now, I would be very concerned about my prospect of getting a job. I think the hiring is dropping dramatically. Every time you speak to a partner at a law firm, they've dropped their hiring rate by 80%. We sell beef and we need people to have money to sell beef. How do you, I know you're sitting up here, David, as a CTO, but how do you see the broader societal impacts of a significant restructure of our sort of employment framework and what sort of impacts that might have across the whole food production system?
I mean, massive question, existential question, which I guess, everyone thinks about and smarter people than me have sort of addressed. My view on it is, look, you will still need the human in the loop as far as this technology goes. So yes, everyone becomes more efficient, and that's fine, and that's good. But as you're becoming more efficient, then everyone else has a competitor, and everyone else is kind of producing more. And if we can achieve that as a system, then I think we've still got employment. People do need to be more creative. We probably really do need to think our education system, because our education system is sort of centered around parrot learning. And frankly, parrot learning in a system where intelligence is commoditized and you can ask that thing to just parrot anyway becomes useless. But as we adapt and we kind of rethink about that and turn it more to creativity, turn it more to output, insight, combination of different things from different fields, there's an advantage there in something which has never been tapped before. But I do see it still as an enabler rather than a complete killer. But there will definitely be a reshuffling and sort of a reallocation of the world's economy during this phase.
What do you think, John? How are you looking at the broader impacts, I guess, on the people you deal with, and does it pose a broader concern for you?
Look, I think it's going to be very similar to every other tech advancement we've seen. There'll be more money made than lost, but only for those that have the future look and can actually see a little bit into the future. And whenever these things come throughout the past, throughout history, it's looked really dire because we don't know what new jobs are opening tomorrow. For us in our business, it's been fantastic because we've been able to let go of so many consultants and outside companies that we've used because we don't need them anymore. We can bring everything in-house. But what it's going to do,
But what are those guys doing now?
I'm not sure.
Are they retraining as plumbers or?
Hopefully
they're not driving tractors on cotton farms. So it is, in a way, it's almost a reverse of what's happened for the last 50 years, where sort of automation came in and displaced the industrial middle class. Now we're having a complete reordering, and I think we're going to solve the problem with that in the next 15 minutes. So, but yeah, it's certainly challenging. Sid, what do you think is the sort of greatest opportunities this presents? Like, if we're sitting here in 10 years with it, what do you think it looks like, both in the industry and more broadly?
Well, what I see is that AI will be a tool that will equalize a lot of industries. For example, like you said, the software services industry, they will be the biggest they'll get disrupted the most, because now everyone has the ability to build whatever's in their head. They can turn that into an app. So they don't really need a company to build an app for them. So, so that will be the biggest disruptor there. And what happens from there would be, it will be a new gold rush for everyone to capitalize on. And there will be first mover advantage for some people. But, that's sort of the good thing as well, and a bad thing, It's exciting that we don't know, but it's also exciting that there's so much potential that will be unlocked. So, yeah.
Dan, as someone who's got a software company, do you see that as a risk, and how do you think about staying, I guess, safeguarding your business so it's not highly replicable?
Yeah, I mean, given that we've been using AI so much, it's very interesting to see, what it's like to go from scratch, take all of the knowledge and everything I know about how to build a system and try and vibe code a new one, and just see how far it can get. And I can tell you, it's still a long, 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 long way away from being able to build a production-ready app that can properly account for all of the data aspects, capturing of bugs and data governance, and there's just so many levels to it. And sure, it can build something that looks amazing and might be functional for something basic, but as soon as you find a bug and you ask AI to fix that bug, it'll create a whole bunch of new code that doesn't really make sense. It's not a solved problem yet. It might be coming, but I think that's where the further you get into the technical areas is also where AI can struggle more and more, and that's where you need that person in the loop. So it's good at all the information that's out there available on the internet that's been trained on, the bulk information. So you can ask it, a lot of general questions and it will give you a good answer. But as soon as you start getting into the niche of, Wagyu genetics and marbling and all these types of things, it's, it'll very quickly, confidently tell you things that are completely wrong. And that's where you got to be careful. But the other part of it is it's all around the data that's going in, and that helps determine, what's coming out of it. And that's where I think I'm most excited about, what we're building and what we can enable, because it really is having all of that data there, and having a platform that can flexibly provide the right data and the right tools to the AI so that it can use those tools and that data to actually give you useful information is where it gets really interesting.
So one interesting thing that's happened recently was I was at an AI conference in New Zealand, and all the leading New Zealand universities were at this AI conference. What they said was this year was the first time they had the lowest intake of computer science and software programming students. And there were more in arts and technical science and commerce. But actually, it was very surprising for them that the computer science graduates had gone down, and they were trying to grapple with the fact that actually changes their syllabus and the outlook, and what will that do to the workforce in New Zealand. So, it is starting to have those effects for the youth, because they are starting to grapple what will they do with the future, because they don't see that as a viable career path. Maybe they're wrong, maybe they're right, but that's what they feel, and you can see those in numbers now in the universities.
The other part I'd add there is, even if the bar may be lowered, I think on some level AI is leveling the playing field, but there's still that human element, and particularly in the ag industry, the relationships and the trust and the networking and the credibility is never going to go away.
I think one thing you've said a couple of times there, Dan, which I really reflect on, is the confidence of it. I was going through and trying to, get a dodgy AI model to assess my cattle by putting in all these different, you had EBVs and average weaning weight and, the amount of times that it had gone first round AI and done all that. And I was like, which are my top 300 cows? And it identified the bottom 300. And it's like, kill these. I was like, no, that's wrong. Please don't let me do that. And I think it keeps going back to that need for, human intuition and human knowledge to actually oversee that. John, if you had to make one bet on a major change AI will drive in cattle production, what would that be?
I think we'll see the good producers become fantastic and the poor producers stay poor producers. It's not going to be a magic bullet that all of a sudden makes you a good producer when you weren't putting the effort in or trying to do anything. But if you're the one like you guys here that are striving to be that little bit better, and you can just get something more efficient, more clarity, more knowledge out of something, that's going to take you to the next level. So we'll see a gap open up from AI or from like any technology. If you adopt it and you become good at it and competent at it, then you'll exceed those that aren't willing to try.
So, Sid, from a phenotype perspective, you'll see things coming out. There's going to be sort of monitors on troughs which can detect animals and maybe be like an Optiway or the Gallagher loader to identify weight gain. What do you see is coming on that sort of very specific to animal production and some things when you look to the future there?
Yeah, so in Gallagher, we've been working on a feature called Autonomous Move, which is kind of like auto steer, but for cattle. So now that we have the entire stack we're building inside Gallagher, so we've got virtual fencing, we've got a pasture product that can measure the feed requirements and the feed usage of the cattle, and also now we know the outputs, which is the weight gain as well. So now that we have all the sort of inputs and outputs of that system and a paddock, we think we can move cattle in a way that will optimize not only the daily weight gain for the entire mob, not just for the individual cattle, but also optimize the residual pasture targets that the farmer wants from their paddock. So now we can have that sort of autonomous system that moves the cattle paddock to paddock, and that will provide that insight to the farmer about what they should do next. So that sort of is our vision now, and that's where I think AI is playing a big role for us, because we're getting that sort of minutely data about what we should do next. Yeah.
David, do you think the industry is sort of underestimating or overestimating how quickly we'll take hold?
Look, I think like any tech revolution, it's always underestimated and then it's all of a sudden there and it's everywhere. Let's put it that way. For us, look at even at Farmbot, obviously. So, we monitor water infrastructure, we monitor the infrastructure across the properties. You can switch it on and off, you can control it, that's what we're after. 10 years ago, you would have gone, oh no, that's impossible, I just need to drive around. Now it's almost a given for customers of ours that it's like, why would I drive around? It's just ridiculous, I'm just gonna do it this way. It's, saves fuel and does that. And it's always hard to see that until it's there, and then all of a sudden it's created, and off we go. Everyone wants it, and everyone kind of does it and goes, oh, I can't believe I used to do it that other way. So I think probably people are underestimating the impact, but once those technologies start coming out, they're seeing results with their neighbours, they're seeing things happen, then everyone goes, well, I need to do this as well. I'd be crazy not to. And I think that's the core focus though, right? Like just being able to provide a solution that is obvious, gives you a tangible, easy to understand benefit. It's not about the fluff and kind of smokescreen around AI. It's more about, what is this? Oh yeah, I understand that. That's really easy. I don't drive around. I utilize my ground better. I feed less, or feed more, improve my yields. Great. That's tangible, easy, and everyone understands it. So I think once those things are commercialized and they're in place and they can be easily proven, then it's a quick adoption from there. But of course, look, the enemy for technologists like us up here is the status quo. It's just people not doing anything, and people sort of sitting back and waiting for it, and not wanting to embrace any change and almost being afraid of it. Probably at Farmbot, we always say our biggest competitor is Toyota, because a lot of people just drive around and still check their watering points, and that's the biggest competition for us. It's not something else. It's just finding that new tech and embracing it and giving it a go.
We've just got a couple of questions coming from the floor. I reckon, Dan, this might be headed your way. There's a lot of company... Oh, who's moving that? Dan, is it possible to optimise the Helical data and mobile, and could AI help to build a mobile app to assist with this?
Yeah, so we definitely do recognise that the mobile experience is something that we need to do some work on. I'd say we're particularly, it's been reinforced this week with me, which is good. So I'd say it's something we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks and seeing what are some quick wins we can do around when you're looking up individual animals and other things on your phone. I definitely do think that a mobile app is in our future, and it is something we've been exploring. We've just been so busy getting the whole system live and making sure we're rounding out the edge cases and incorporating the easy wins and the feedback we've been getting since the system has gone live. And now we're in the process of migrating many breed societies. But yeah, we're very aware that most people are using their phones to look things up when they're on the farm, and that's something we're looking to improve on for sure.
There's another one, and I'll open it to the panel who feels most comfortable responding to it. There's a lot of companies selling their software or products to us as farmers. Does anyone see an opportunity to amalgamate all programs into one master database to simplify these complexities? And I think that gets at one of these broader challenges, that we've got all of this data, but how are we making better decisions? Like, at some point it becomes superfluous. Who wants to take this one? Dave.
Look, agreed. Obviously, there's always a lot of data. I think, yes, it can be amalgamated. We are signatories to the Farmer Data Code, so we believe that our customers own the data, and therefore your data should be able to go around and be centralized and utilized as you want and as you need. The challenge, if you will, is that obviously different companies will always be competing on different things. We sit somewhat apart in infrastructure, but I guess, if there's different companies that are doing your mobs or management, or whether it be virtual fencing, whatever it might be, they're always going to try and compete, right? And so obviously in that competition, they're going to come up with different features and try and entice you towards their systems, and that probably becomes the challenge. It's that, the competition between those companies wants to keep that data somewhat separate, whereas obviously the end customer wants to merge it together and have one. But that will be the core challenge, I think, in bringing it together, will just be those competitive tensions.
You agree as well.
For some of the programs and products out there, you probably have a better chance of getting Pauline and Albo together on the same team. But it's definitely the big thing. Nobody wants to have a phone full of apps and devices, but getting everybody working together for the one objective, that's the main thing. So I think I will watch this space to see who comes out on top, but there's a lot of people that are trying to be that one amalgamated platform.
Yeah, I think there's always a question of, there's probably two parts of it, and definitely what David was talking about around the willingness of different companies to share the data is a challenge. There's also the capabilities of different companies and their software systems to integrate and have that data actually share easily is another big challenge. But the value of having that data being shared and having an ecosystem where the data can go through these different systems so that you can access it all in one place is, I do think that is something AI can help with, where, if you've got an AI model that can access those different data systems, you can just be asking that AI model about different parts of your operation and have all that data feed through. So you don't necessarily need it all to be in one database, but you do need those companies to be able to make that option accessible to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see a world in which, you're taking Sid's virtual fencing, and you're integrating, satellite pasture information, and you've got your stocking rate, and you've got your weight growth information, and I think you were alluding to it before, Dan, when we were outside. It's like there'll be an optimised stocking rate and movement program, and again, there'll be that level of human intuition to oversee it. But I can see a world in which a computer can do that more powerfully than we can. Sid?
Yeah, I think there's some cool stuff happening in this AI space as well, and we've been experimenting with this as well. There's some new features that have come out with some of the leading AI platforms where you can schedule like something like Claude or anything to open each app on your phone. It can scan your app because it's got really good scanning technology now. It can read your screens, and it can give you the insights from each of your app and tell you what to do next. So even if the companies don't talk to each other, there'll be another layer of technology that might one day make that a moot point as well. And like, I won't lie, there will be companies that will be vertically integrated like Gallagher, where they would have a lot of these things available in one place. But I also see there will be another type of technology that will make it easy for everyone to have good insights, but it will do the job for you. Yep.
Sid, there's one more question on the screen for you. We are seeing the emergence of virtual fencing today, but once the collars are on the cattle and we are out there grazing, what future applications might be available using AI or other technology? And can I add one part to that? Does the collar, can you see an evolution where it's past a collar?
Well, I'll take it another route where I think there's some quite interesting future. We really want farmers to be building their own apps. And so that's what we're looking at Gallagher is build a platform where we can provide them the tools, and we might give them some scientists to talk to, but the farmers can vibe code their own app, and it's their widgets, their own things tied to their own platform, their own farms, and then they just run with it, and maybe they can sell their app to other farmers in the same use cases. But I see that as where we will go, is that we won't be building apps anymore. We will let the AI build the apps for the farmers as the farmers want it. And that's sort of something where we're experimenting now, and I think that's sooner than later, yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts before we open it to the floor for questions?
Just to add on that question in terms of future applications using AI, I mean, I think, and adding on to that last presentation around the meat grading, I mean, one of the interesting ones would be, I think we're all consumers here. We've all gone to the grocery store and gone in to buy a particular cut of steak. And then when you look at those steaks, that some look really appealing and some don't look so appealing. So what if there was a way to, take a photo of those different ones or capture that preference, which we are all signaling as consumers, and having an AI model that can, use those images to feed back some kind of trait that can go into a genetic evaluation, so we could have an EBV on a consumer preference for a steak that's being bought. Lots of phenotyping capabilities around AI, and having carcass data and animals walking through yards, and the ability to automatically capture lots and lots of data, even if that data isn't necessarily as accurate as an actual weigh scale or manual measurement. The sheer volume of it, I think, is going to outweigh some of that inaccuracy, and it just means we'll be able to spend more time on the traits that are important, and let those automated capabilities take care of the ones that aren't as important.
I've got one more here for you guys, and then we'll let you go. There appears to be a really slow uptake by farmers to new AgTech ideas compared to other industries. Farmers obviously can't afford the time, money to make a mistake, and we need to know the provider of AgTech will be there in the future. Who's taking that one for us?
I mean, in a way, I disagree in that farmers take it up as it's needed, and one of the challenges, as David was saying, was how do you convince someone to take up new technology when the way they've been doing it's worked really well for the last 50 years, 6 generations, or sometimes
a pencil and a notebook, solves
it still works. Yeah. So where they're trying to tell someone to monitor their water or monitor their yards with a camera or a Farmbot, and they say, well, I'm still worth 100 million, like my Wagyu's still selling top, like why would I change? And until we can really showcase why that change is going to be best, then no, you shouldn't uptake anything until you can see the real value of it. So I think it's less on the farmers and more so on us as AgTech providers to really help see why that ROI is going to be there.
And the last one's a simple one for David. When is Claude going to solve the war between USA and Iran?
Yeah, thank you on that. Good night, everyone.
That's called a mic drop. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got another question. They won't let you go. I apologise. The biggest problem I see with innovations are cockatoos. How do you stop these from eating cabling?
PVC piping. That's the answer. That's what we do.
Custom stainless steel bird spikes, as long as they're installed correctly, we found on every silo. And we did too many return trips to learn that the hard way.
It's obviously a pretty significant challenge. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I actually think this is a terribly exciting space for us. We work in food production. It's an incredibly important industry. It's not going anywhere. I love that we sort of reflected that those core skills are still going to be incredibly relevant, but we're going to have the capacity to do more with less, and farming's not going anywhere. Is there any other questions for the floor? Otherwise, I think we're nearly at a wrap time, and Matt will be up here. If you want to catch any of these guys afterwards, then please do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.